My dear brothers and sisters, today I come before you not with fear, but with wisdom. I come before you not to close doors, but to open your eyes. For there are places in this world that masquerade as sanctuaries, but they are not built on faith, nor love, nor truth. There are churches, yes, churches, not of brick and stained glass, but of the mind, the heart, and the soul. These churches, my friends, are traps. They are prisons wrapped in hymns, and if you step inside them, they may never let you leave. The church of fear, oh, you've seen it. A place where the sermons are soaked in trembling warnings, where people gather not to lift their spirits, but to cower in shadows. This is a church that tells you that you are never enough, never strong enough, never worthy of the sunlight. But I tell you, you are the sky, and no building, no voice, no preacher of doubt can keep you from rising. The church of bitterness there is a congregation where resentment is the hymn and grudges are the pews. This church feeds you poison and calls it justice. It tells you to hold on to every wound, to carry the weight of every wrong. But hear me well, my loves, bitterness does not burn the one who hurt you. It burns you. Do not enter this church. Leave it behind and walk freely into love. The church of complacency, this one is silent. It does not shout. It does not demand. It simply whispers, stay where you are. It tells you that dreams are for others, that change is for the bold, that you are too small to matter. But listen to me, you were not born to sit still. You were born to rise, to grow, to turn this world into something more beautiful than you found it. And so I tell you, do not enter these churches. Fear will chain you. Bitterness will blind you. Complacency will silence you. But hope will lift you. Love will guide you. Courage will set you free. Go forth, my dear ones, and step into the light of your own becoming. Fear is a masterful storyteller. It whispers in the quiet corners of your mind, shaping shadows out of nothing, turning the unknown into a terrible certainty. It does not need proof. It does not need reason. It only needs a moment, just one to plant its roots deep within you. And if you let it, fear will build a home inside your heart, decorating its walls with doubts, filling its rooms with hesitation. There are people who have never truly lived a day because fear told them they couldn't. It told them they weren't strong enough, weren't smart enough, weren't ready yet. So they sat still while time moved forward. They watched the days pass, watched the world turn, and every time they thought to stand, to step, to move, fear pulled them back into their seat and said, not yet, maybe tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes for the ones who wait for fear to give them permission. Fear wears many masks. Sometimes it looks like caution, that gentle voice that tells you to stay safe, to not take the risk, to avoid the unknown. It tells you it is protecting you. It tells you it is your friend. But true friends do not keep you caged. True friends do not wrap you in chains and call it love. Fear convinces you that it is the only thing standing between you and disaster, when in truth, it is the only thing standing between you and your destiny. There are those who have buried their dreams in the soil of fear. They have covered them up, patted the dirt, and walked away, convincing themselves that dreams were never meant to be real. They tell themselves that it was for the best, that chasing after something so uncertain would have been reckless. But what they don't realize is that fear is the greatest thief. It does not steal in the night. It does not break into your home. It does not take with force. No, fear is patient. It waits for you to hand over your joy willing. It waits for you to lock away your own ambitions and throw away the key. Fear speaks in what ifs. What if you fail? What if you are embarrassed? What if they laugh at you? What if you fall and cannot get back up? And so many people listen, nodding their heads, agreeing with the fear as if it were wisdom. But fear never asks the right questions. It never asks, what if you succeed? It never whispers, what if this risk leads you somewhere beautiful? It never dares to wonder, what if you were made for more than this? And that is the great tragedy of fear. It makes you forget. It shrinks you down, makes you smaller, convinces you that you are never meant to take up space. But my dear, you were not put on this earth to be small. You were not meant to live a life where you tiptoe through your own existence, careful not to disturb the world. You were meant to stand tall, to step forward, to walk boldly into your own becoming. There are those who will try to feed your fear, who will encourage you to stay exactly where you are. Not because they hate you, not because they wish you harm, but because they are afraid too. And nothing terrifies a fearful person more than seeing someone else break free. They will tell you to be careful, to play it safe, to think twice before making a move. They will remind you of every story where someone failed, where someone tried and lost. But do not let another person's fear become your own. Do not let their hesitation weigh down your wings. Fear does not have to be your enemy. It does not have to be the force that keeps you locked away from your own potential. Fear can be a teacher, a lesson, a guide. It can remind you that what lies ahead is important, that it is worth the risk, that it is something that matters. Because fear does not show up for the insignificant. Fear only rises when you are standing at the edge of something great. And when that moment comes, when fear stands before you, blocking your path, you must decide. Will you turn away? Will you retreat back into comfort, into safety, into the smallness that no longer fits you? Or will you take that step, that one impossible, terrifying, beautiful step, and walk into the life that has been waiting for you all along? Bitterness is a slow poison. It does not burn like fire, it does not strike like lightning, it seeps, settles, lingers. It starts as a small wound, a sharp word, a broken promise, an unkind act. And instead of tending to it, instead of cleansing it with forgiveness, people let it fester. They wrap their hands around it, hold it close, nurse it as if it was something precious. They do not realize that bitterness does not stay contained. It spreads, taking root in places it was never meant to be, twisting its way through the soul until it colors everything. Bitterness wears the disguise of justice. It tells you that holding on to your pain is the only way to make things right. It whispers that forgiveness is weakness, that letting go means you are letting them win. It convinces you that your pain is power, that it gives you control, but there is no power in you. There is no strength in carrying a weight that was never meant for you. The burden of bitterness does not fall on the one who hurt you. It falls on you. The heaviness is yours to carry. The sleepless nights belong to you. The aching, the anger, the quiet resentment, it lives inside of you, not them. There are people who have built entire lives around their bitterness. They let it shape their days, their thoughts, their relationships. They wake up thinking about what was done to them, go to sleep reliving old wounds, spend their hours collecting more reasons to be angry. They build walls to keep out love, to keep out joy, to keep out anything that might soften them. They tell themselves that this is protection, that this is the only way to never be hurt again. But a fortress built from bitterness is still a prison. And it does not just lock others out, it locks you in. Bitterness feeds itself. It looks for fuel, for reasons to justify its existence. It does not seek healing. It does not want peace. It wants to grow. So it searches for offense in every word, in every action. It finds slights where none exist. It creates enemies where there are only friends. It twists kindness into manipulation, turns it into foolishness. It does not allow love to flourish because love threatens its survival. And so those who hold on to bitterness find themselves alone, not because no one cares, but because bitterness will not let them see the hands reaching for them. Some believe that their bitterness is their story, that it defines them. They do not know who they are without it. It has been with them for so long that the idea of letting it go feels like losing a piece of themselves. But bitterness is not your identity. It is not your home. It is not the foundation upon which your life must be built. It is only the residue of pain, the leftover ache of something that was never meant to stay. Bitterness does not just hurt the heart, it clouds the mind. It makes you see the world through a lens of resentment. It makes you suspicious of kindness, resistant to change, unwilling to believe in goodness. It convinces you that nothing will ever be different, that people cannot be trusted, that life will only ever disappoint you. It takes the beauty out of moments that should have been joyful, dulls the laughter, dims the light. And over time, it makes you forget what it ever felt like to be free. There are those who believe that bitterness keeps them safe. They believe that if they hold on to their pain, it will serve as a reminder to never trust again, to never open up, to never be vulnerable. But pain does not need to be your teacher forever. It does not need to be the lesson you carry for life. The past does not need to be your prison. You are allowed to put it down. You are allowed to let it go. You are allowed to choose peace over the weight of all that has hurt you. Bitterness does not heal wounds. It does not make the past disappear. It does not undo what was done. It only keeps you bound to it, tied to a moment that no longer exists. The only way to be free is to loosen your grip, to stop feeding the fire, to stop giving it a home within you. The only way to truly move forward is to release what has been holding you back. Complacency is a quiet thief. It does not come with force, does not shout its arrival. It does not shake you awake in the night, demanding that you hand over your dreams. No, complacency moves softly. It wraps itself around you like a warm blanket, whispering that where you are is good enough, that reaching for more is unnecessary, that growth is too much work. It is comforting in its deception, lulling you into stillness while the world moves forward without you. There are people who have spent their entire lives in the same place, not because they were meant to stay there, but because they believed they had no reason to leave. They convinced themselves that where they stood was far enough, that what they had achieved was sufficient, that there was no need to ask for more. But complacency does not just keep you still, it slowly erodes the fire within you. It dulls your curiosity, numbs your ambition, makes you forget that once upon a time you had dreams that stretched beyond the horizon. Complacency feeds on comfort. It makes the ordinary feel permanent, convinces you that effort is unnecessary, that risk is foolish, that change is too hard. It tells you that tomorrow is always an option, that opportunities will always wait, that there's always time. And so people sit waiting for the right moment, waiting for the perfect conditions, waiting for a sign. But complacency never gives you permission to move. It only encourages you to wait longer. There are those who say they are content, that they do not need more than what they have. And for some, that may be true. But there is a difference between contentment and complacency. Contentment is peace. It is knowing that what you have is enough while still embracing growth. Complacency is stagnation. It is refusing to reach further because reaching requires effort. It is telling yourself that staying the same is safer than risking failure. But what many do not realize is that complacency is its own kind of failure. The failure to try, the failure to step into the life you were meant to live. Complacency convinces you that dreams are for others. It makes success seem like something reserved for the lucky, for the bold, for the ones who were simply meant to have it. But success does not belong to the chosen few. It belongs to those who refuse to sit still, to those who push forward even when the path is unclear. It belongs to those who recognize that growth is uncomfortable, that change is challenging, but that the alternative is a life of unfulfilled potential. The danger of complacency is not just what it takes from you today, it is what it steals from your future. It takes away opportunities before you even reach for them. It takes away relationships before you invest in them. It takes away achievements before you put in the work. It robs you of the person you could have been, the life you could have built, the impact you could have made. And the saddest part is that most people never even realize what they have lost until it is too late. There are moments in life when we are meant to pause, to reflect, to be still. Rest is necessary, recovery is important, but there is a difference between resting and stopping altogether. Complacency does not just slow you down. It makes you forget that you ever wanted to move at all. It convinces you that staying in place is a choice, when in reality, it is surrender. It is giving up on growth, on potential, on the possibility of something greater. People often think that complacency is harmless, that it does not hurt anyone, but it does. It hurts the dreams left unrealized, the talents left unused, the passions left unexplored. It hurts the people around you, the ones who believe in you, the ones who see your potential while you ignore it. It hurts the world because the world needs people who are willing to step up, to rise, to push beyond what is comfortable. Complacency does not announce itself as failure. It disguises itself as stability, as safety, as wisdom, but wisdom is not fear in disguise. Wisdom knows that growth requires movement. It knows that dreams require action. It knows that comfort is not the goal. Purpose is, and purpose does not live in stillness. It lives in the willingness to reach, to try, to fail, and to rise again.